My name's Simon. I am one of the product owners for the Twinkl Phonics scheme here at Twinkl, and have 10 years of teaching experience before coming to Twinkl, where I've been for about 3.5 years working on the phonics team for that whole time. And so today, we're going to just have a chat about what the scheme is, kind of introduce you to everything that we have on offer, and then I'll pass over to Jo, who's the product owner for our Rhino Readers Reading Scheme, and she can speak to you more about that. Thanks, Louise. Yeah, so do use the chat function to add any questions, and we'll have a look at those as we go, and then have hopefully some Q&A time at the end as well. So yeah, just to kick us off, a little bit of a background about the phonics program. So Twinkl Phonics actually began as a scheme itself, as a SSP in 2017. We have actually been making phonics resources at Twinkl since the very beginning of Twinkl, but we decided to create a fully structured scheme or program of lessons in 2017. It was a program built on all the great aspects of letters and sounds. So it will be, if you're familiar with any other phonics program, you should recognize a lot about the progression that we use. We have made adjustments and improvements for current curriculum and best practice. The whole thing is being developed by experienced phonics teachers for teachers. So we have, in our current phonics team, we have over 200 years of combined teaching experience between us, from nursery, early years through Key Stage 1 and 2, lots of experience with SEND, school leaders. So yeah, so we've walked in your shoes. We know exactly what it means to be teaching phonics. It's our bread and butter and our second language. And so yeah, it's a pleasure to make these resources for you. So we've been on the Department for Education's validated list since December 2021. We had finished creating the scheme at that point. Obviously, we put the scheme forward for validation, and we were approved at the end of that year. So we've been on the DfE validated list for 2 years now. So we'll dig a little bit more into what Twinkl Phonics provides. So Twinkl Phonics provides you with a consistent whole school approach with a clear progression. So it has easy access and simple to use quality teaching resources. We have a program that is easy to transition to if you've previously used letters and sounds, or any other phonics program that's based around the typical letter progression, GPC progression from letters and sounds. We provide editable resources to help you support all of your learners according to their individual needs. And this is something that you don't necessarily get from some of the other programs, because everything comes through our website and is downloadable. There's lots of ways that you can edit and adapt resources to work for your children. So our scheme also provides a 2014 National Curriculum Compliant spelling and grammar program built in, along with all of the phonics teaching. We also include complete coverage of all of the sounds needed for the Year 1 phonics screening check, and those are taught in our lesson plans before the screening check will happen. We also provide frequent updates and improvements as new research and guidance become available. So at this present time, we're currently going through a massive update of all of our level 5 and 6 resources, putting brand new resources on site. So those are based on the newest, the most up-to-date guidance from DfE, teacher experience, feedback from customers, and that's something that we do periodically to make sure the program is the best it can possibly be. So a few ways that you might find Twinkl Phonics similar or different from the basic letters and sounds program. So we use the same progression throughout levels 2 to 4. We have all the requirements for the phonics screening check taught and covered before the screening check would happen, typically in June of Year 1. We also have a detailed handbook to support schools with implementing the scheme. Some ways that our program is different. So we include extensive planning, lesson, assessment and support resources all included. We've included tricky and common exception words that are increased above what the national curriculum provides. So that partly comes down to having our own reading scheme attached to us. So we've included lots of coverage of extra words that we think really help to unlock an excellent companion reading experience for children, so that you will find more tricky and common exception words included in our program. So we have a comprehensive level 1 program as well for nursery and those children who need pre-reading and writing language skills. We know how important it is that children have those pre-phonics skills in place, and so our full 36-week program is available as well to help put those skills in place before children start on their letter and sound recognition. We also have a complete level 6 program, which is focused on spelling and grammar for year 2. So we built on the phase 6 program that Letters and Sounds provided to make that a 30 daily weeks worth of lessons, 30 weeks of daily lessons for your year 2 program. We've also included intervention resources for both Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2. Many of our resources are editable to ensure that you can meet the needs of a wide range of learners in your setting. We also, of course, have our fully aligned Rhino Readers decodable reading books, which Joe, I'm looking forward to hearing Joe talk to you more about in a little while. And we also provide virtual and in-person training, and so those are a really important part of our program as well. We're able to send trainers to you or meet you virtually to guide you with implementing Twinkl Phonics in your setting. So a really quick snapshot of what our progression looks like. So this, of course, I should add, would be in a typical setting where children are in a mainstream learning setting. So usually children would be covering children in nursery would be covering level 1 throughout autumn, spring and summer. And then in the reception year, they would cover level 2, level 3, and then level 4 in the summer term. Year 1 children would cover level 5, and year 2 children would cover level 6. So those first 4 years, we have lesson planning available for those children. And in a little bit more detail, but I'm not going to walk you through every single aspect of the chart here, but just to give you an idea. So this shows how we cover, how our coverage is kind of split between those levels. So in level 1, we have that split between these 7 aspects that are included in phase 1, including environmental sounds, instrumental sounds, body percussion, rhythm and rhyme, alliteration, voice sounds, and then oral blending and segmenting. And I'll talk a bit more about level 1 in just a moment. Level 2, children start to learn the grapheme phoneme correspondences for the first letters. And then in level 3, they continue to learn the grapheme phoneme correspondences for single letters, and then some digraphs and trigraphs. They then spend some time in level 4 learning how to, spending some time practicing those blending skills, where they learn to blend words with adjacent consonants, polysyllabic words, so words of multiple syllables, and blending 3-letter adjacent consonants as well. So some of those really tricky clusters of letters that children find hard to blend, there's some dedicated time in level 4 for them to build on those skills and also pick up more tricky and common exception words. And then level 5, so typically taught in year 1, there's a full 30-week program that covers what we call a lot of alternative sounds. So where children have learned a grapheme and phoneme that correspond, they'll then learn different graphemes that correspond to some of the phonemes they've learned, and how some of those work to help them to start becoming more accurate and more fluent with their reading, and also begin to start spelling accurately as well, getting correct sounds, not just making phonetically plausible attempts at spelling anymore. And then in level 6, we build on all that with more spelling rules, more of the slightly more complicated and less common grapheme phoneme correspondences, and we start teaching grammar rules as well, such as contractions, word endings, suffixes, and focus on some of the way that those grammar rules work to help children with their writing. So to dig in a little bit more detail at each of the levels, level 1, as I mentioned, we cover all 7 aspects, and each of those aspects is covered by one of the 7 toys. So these are the toys from Kit and Sam's toy chest, and in a minute we'll meet Kit and Sam as well. And so the children kind of come to learn which of the toys matches to each aspect, and it helps to kind of guide children and the teachers in terms of which aspect they're covering in each lesson, and provides that kind of engaging hook for the children as well. So there are 36 full weeks of activities. Each of those are in 6-week themed blocks, and those themes cover lots of the sorts of topics that you'd typically see in a nursery, things like people who help us, our local the place around us, fairy tales and traditional tales, all about me, that sort of thing. So there'd be really familiar kind of topics that you would see in nursery. And each weekly pack includes a weekly plan, It includes a weekly assessment sheet as well for small group activities to help you track where the children are and what they've managed to achieve that week. It includes 5 small group activity cards and 5 large group activity cards. So to help with being able to plan activities for both small and larger groups to suit your setting. So this is what the activity cards look like. They include clear learning intentions and aspect focus at the top. They also include step-by-step instructions on how to lead the activity and what sort of things you'll need, so you can get those resources and things ready. It always includes an extension activity for any children that you think need additional challenge. It includes suggested enhancements to continue learning through your classroom provision. So those might include activities you can do outside, away from the tables, away from the carpet. It includes assessment questions to assess whether the children have achieved the learning objectives. Then once you move up onto levels 2 to 6, the planning looks a little different. There is a daily lesson plan for it. There's daily planning for each lesson that's backed up by lots of different activities, which I'll quickly show you. So we've broken our provision into what we call core provision and wider SSP provision. So when we were first validated by DfE, since we are a team of experienced teachers, we created loads of resources that we knew were really, really good for teaching children phonics in an engaging way. DfE looked at our resources and they said, well, some of those resources aren't entirely necessary, things like songs and games and follow-on activities, but we didn't want to take them out of the program because we know how valuable and useful those can be. So what we've done is we've classified certain activities as core provision that are essential to meet the requirements of the national curriculum, and certain other activities that we consider wider provision for your SSP that might not be entirely necessary for fulfilling the national curriculum requirements, but that we still consider to be really, really good resources that help with engagement, that we know help for some children to really to make progress through multisensory activities. So it's really worth looking at those as well, but we have got them on separate planning so that you can make sure that what you have time for and what you have resources for, you can cover that. Then within the lesson packs themselves, the lesson pack includes planning. Sorry, you might hear my dog. She's just in the room with me. So the lesson packs themselves include planning and all of the resources that you need to cover each day's lessons. So it will include a lesson PowerPoint, and this kind of is the meat and bones of the program. It walks you through a lesson every single day, which includes a revisit and review section where you go through the sounds and tricky words that you've learned already. There's then a story-based element where you meet Kit and Sam and their family, mum and dad and the dog, Ben, and they go on various adventures and you kind of follow their story as you go through the lesson. You'll then have a new lesson or a new GPC taught in each lesson. So the example on the screen is the V saying V lesson. Your children are taught how to form the letter. They're shown it lots and lots of times. They learn a mnemonic to help them remember it. They're taught an action. They're taught a rhyme to help them form with their formation as well. Then they complete lots of activities where they practice actually using it. So practice activities where they use it, where they blend, they will segment, they'll spot that letter in words and be exposed to lots of words that use that letter as well. And then the story kind of completes for the day, and then there'll be a short apply activity where children would either practice reading or doing a small amount of writing to apply the skills that they've learned. In the level 2 and 3 lessons, the children 2, 3 and 4 lessons, children in lessons in levels 2 and 3, children are typically learning 1 letter a day. So there is a story for each day that begins and ends within the lesson. As you get onto levels 5 and 6, the teaching tends to be 1 sound or 1 GPC per week. And so the story lasts for a full week as well, because we know that the children are getting a bit older. Their ability to engage with a story that pans out over the course of a week rather than just once a day, they're more able to cope with that. And so the lesson stories kind of reflect that, and yeah, a bit more mature for the children as they get a bit older. So outside of the lesson presentation, there's a workbook activity for every lesson as well. So we have those available on site as digital downloads, and we also have those as available as physical workbooks that you can purchase from us to cover the entire level. We've then got follow-on activities as well, which include various, and there's a small selection shown on the screen of examples, various different activities, filling in blanks, matching sentences to pictures, formation activities, all kinds of different activities to follow up on the learning from the lesson. And then we also have a variety of supporting resources outside of the lesson itself. So lots of things that you might find useful, things like flashcards, display posters, materials, lots of different kinds of sound mats and word mats to support the children with their independent work, decodable word booklets and tricky word booklets so that the children can go and practice their try and learn those words that they're seeing a lot. Yeah, so various different activities that you can use to support your learning throughout the classroom. So, and then for each level, we also have an assessment pack that not only assesses children's GPC recognition, but also their ability to blend and segment within that level's learning. So the assessment packs include tracking documents to help you keep track of the progress each child makes through the level. It includes next steps to show what the children, how to support the children on as they continue with their learning. It also assesses their it assesses their blending and segmenting skills as well. Within levels 5 and 6, because those are both 30-week levels, there are 3 assessment packs. So the children would typically, you'd assess them after 10, 20 and 30 weeks of the scheme. So it kind of breaks that assessment period down so that into kind of bite-sized amounts. And having done your assessment, we recognise that there's going to be some children who need additional support, who might need to repeat some of the learning, and so we've created interventions to support those children. So we have quick keep up same day one-to-one interventions for Key Stage 1. And then we also have group interventions for Key Stage 1 that might be more appropriate if you have small groups of children who are then kind of in a catch-up situation where you want them to fill gaps that they've missed that you kind of assess a bit later on in the year. And then for those who need continued support, we also have Key Stage 2 interventions to support children as they move on, and those are styled differently so that they look a bit more interesting and exciting for children as they get a bit older and more mature. And if they've seen those lessons and they've seen the characters before, they'll notice in the Key Stage 2 interventions that those have a different look to them to kind of support them as they get a bit older. Those include, both sets of interventions include a clear step-by-step delivery. They're kind of scripted, so you really can download, print and teach them right off the bat. They don't need to have a lot of prep involved. We know that your time is precious, so we've created those to be really pick up and use. We've included lots of supporting resources as well, so that everything you need to teach those interventions is provided in a really easy to find place on our website. So as we know, a big topic in year 1, a big focus for you as you get to the end of year 1 will be the phonics screening check. Now, the screening check is covered through the normal day-to-day lessons. You shouldn't need to do lots of any additional work other than the daily lessons. However, we do know that some children will have gaps at that point and some children might need some extra practice. So we've included some specific resources for the phonics screening check. So these can be found on the bottom half of our website under the level 5 tab under phonics screening check. Now, we don't just include resources to practice the level 5 grapheme phoneme correspondences, because we know that the screening check also covers those learned in levels 2 and 3. But we've put them into the level 5 tab because we recognise that that's where you're generally going to be looking for resources in year 1. So there are some skills that are covered exclusively through phonics screening check resources. So, for example, our coverage of nonsense words. We don't cover nonsense words in the normal scheme. We like to encourage really using real words that the children will be familiar with through the daily lessons. But if you think that your children will need practice and to be exposed to those alien words beforehand, that coverage is included in our phonics screening check resources specifically. So we've created specific resources as well for subject leaders. So if you are a school leader, subject leader, phonics leader within your setting, hopefully everything that you need is included here as well. So we've got whole school assessment packs, whole school audit packs, guidance for creating a whole school approach and a progression map. We've then got lots and lots of intervention and tracker resources, and we have policy templates, action templates, and resources for you to present, PowerPoints for staff, PowerPoints for parents and carers as well. And then in order to enhance your phonics teaching, we also have a really comprehensive training offering. So in order to help support you become skilled in phonics quickly, we've got a number of different training options. So using our scheme handbook, which is a free download, even if you don't have a subscription with us, you can go onto our site and download the handbook for free. So the Twinkl Phonics handbook includes an extensive guide to everything involved in the program. We've then got continued support through our Twinkl Phonics Schools Facebook group. We have a Facebook group for schools that are currently using the program, and one for anyone teaching phonics. So we can offer different levels of support for different teachers, whatever program you're using. We then have cost-effective, personalized in-person and virtual schools training sessions. So we can come to your school, we can meet you virtually online, we can do half-day sessions, we can do full-day sessions, we can also do twilight sessions. Yeah, from our site, you can get more detail and get in touch with our training team who can talk you through the options there. So yeah, they can be reached at phonics.training@twinkl.co.uk. We'd love to answer any questions or help you with any training needs that you have. So we also have easy to access webinars that we offer throughout the year. And the online training that they offer. So there's our Twinkl trainers get together and present webinars. We'll be able to, we kind of update the webinar offering from time to time, so details of that can be found on site as well. And we also have a YouTube channel at Twinkl Phonics where you can see some of our trainers offering short videos to help support your phonics teaching as well. As well, for ongoing support, as well as the Twinkl Phonics handbook and our training webinars, we also have Twinkl Cares, which is our 24/7 support team. So if you do have problems at all, or questions or feedback or anything that you need support with, you can reach Twinkl Cares 24/7. We have a team that works behind the scenes to help support customers with any of those things. The phonics team, we unfortunately don't work 24/7. We will be away and sleeping and having a rest at the weekends, but any questions and things for us, the cares team will either support you there and then, or they'll pass it on to us if it's more complicated. And we love to support customers personally. Those come across my desk, and I like to help if you've got questions. So we really do like to be there for you to support with your journey of using Twinkl Phonics. Right, I'm going to take a moment and pass over to Joe, who's going to talk to you a bit more about the Decoding Dream Team and Rhino Readers.
Brilliant. Thanks, Simon. Hi, everyone. Yes, I'm Jo. I work on the reading scheme here at Twinkl. And from the moment we started working really on Twinkl Phonics, we knew it was really important we had some decodable reading books that really engaged children. And we weren't that thrilled, to be honest, with the range of books that was currently out there that we could have matched the scheme to. So we really wanted to make our own decodable books. And that's where the Rhino Readers really came from. So step forward, the Rhino Readers, these were a set of books that we created as with the phonics team. We're all experienced teachers who sort of wanted to write books about the things that we know children would like, but also really featuring that key link with the characters in there that there is with Twinkl Phonics. We wanted the same characters to tie together the lessons in the books. So Kit and Sam appear in a lot of the Rhino Readers books that we have. Now, right now, we've got printed books that cover levels 2 to 6 of Twinkl Phonics, and we're working particularly hard at the moment to bring out level 1 books too. So, that's a really key stage for children. There's a selection of level 1 ebooks now on site, and really excitingly, we're about to release a set of level 1 books for pre-order too. Now, all our books, we work really hard on the illustration, and we feel that they're really engaging and beautiful. They cover a range of topics and themes, and they've been written for children today with diversity and representation very much at the front of our minds. Now, you can get to our books in 3 different ways. Firstly, printed books, and a lot of people do prefer that. You can order sets of the printed books either by contacting our lovely schools team on the email address you can see there at the bottom, or by going via the Twinkl store, which is also linked here. And we currently, as I say, have 128 titles available, and 12 level 1 titles are about to be able to be pre-ordered. You can buy them as a whole set, or you can buy the individual levels. And if you want to buy individual titles, a lot of them are available as individual titles on that Twinkl store too. And you can see the prices and the numbers of titles per level there. I'll be sharing a little bit more information about that later on. But what I would say is that if you're ordering on behalf of the school, you're making a school purchase, I would always advise speaking to the schools team. They'll be able to advise you on any offers that are running, and they'll also be able to invoice you for the purchase as well. But it is possible to purchase via credit and debit card from the store, and that's also where you can make purchases of the individual books. So printed books is one way you can read titles. The other 2 ways we make the books available are digital. So you can read ebook versions through the Twinkl website, and you can also access them through a mobile app that we have called the Rhino Readers mobile app. So our book offering is really, really flexible. It's possible to look at a book as a group or a whole class on your interactive whiteboard without needing 30 copies, and then you can pick up exactly the same book in print or on a tablet with children later. And it's also possible to assign the ebooks for home reading. And we have a really nice, shiny new web tool available for you to do that, which is called My Rhino Readers Library. And I'll be looking at that a little bit later too. And that lets you keep your paper copies in schools. Some children, some schools, I should say, prefer to do things that way around. So it's a very flexible scheme, and it will hopefully work whatever the needs of your setting. And of course, it goes without saying that all our Rhino Readers books are matched to the sounds and exception words that are taught throughout Twinkl Phonics. So you won't be asking children to tackle anything that they've not been taught in their phonics lessons. And we've got the wide range of genres and text types to choose from. Many of our books come with accompanying resources that will help you use them in class reading sessions or carousels too. So again, I'll be able to talk about that a little more in a minute. So just a quick word about the way that the Rhino Readers books link to the levels within Twinkl Phonics. What we've done is band them into sub-levels. So you can see there that within level 2, there are 3 sub-levels, 2A, 2B, and 2C. So there are little chunks of books, and the thinking behind this is that the books will run a little bit behind the teaching weeks, and when the children get to a certain point in teaching, they'll be able to unlock a sub-level of book. We do get asked sometimes, why isn't there a book for each particular teaching week? We know that a lot of schools work with schemes that do this, and they do find it difficult to get children reading at the fluency and speed they need to be able to tackle things like comprehension and inference. It's hard to manipulate that whole book in your head if you're also being asked to incorporate learning from the current week. So we feel that approach didn't always give children the confidence they needed, and that's the reason why in our scheme we've banded the books slightly behind teaching. They won't have to wait till the whole end of level 2 though, because once, for example, you can see at the top there where it says 2A, once children have worked through the first 3 weeks of level 2, they'll be able to access all the books within 2A. It doesn't really matter which order they're read in, they will all cover those focus graphemes, and they're the only letter sounds used within the text. And then when they've covered the next 3 weeks of teaching, they'll be able to access the level 2B books, and it goes on and on. And you can see on this slide how the tricky words and sounds that are used are carefully matched to those taught within Twinkl Phonics, with the teaching load divided up between those sub-levels. And there's lots of opportunities for consolidation and practice, as you can see too, with our C levels, where there'll be a little bit more challenge and a lot of reinforcement of the learning. Now, this slide here shows the levels that a typical child would work through in their reception year. So that's levels 2, 3, and 4. And on the next slide, oh, yeah, there we go. You can see the levels that they would work through in years 1 and 2. There's a similar structure, but we've made a few more sub-levels. We've made a first step sub-level at level 5 so that they can get onto those key new spellings as soon as possible. And we've also got we're planning to make an additional stepping stone level in level 6 as well with our forthcoming releases. So that now children can access level 5 after just 4 weeks of Twinkl Phonics teaching. They won't need to wait any longer than that. Another strength, I think, of Twinkl Phonics, as Simon's mentioned, is that not only do you have all the Year 1 and Year 2 common exception words, but we've also included quite a lot of words unique to our scheme and developed by us as a teaching team so that children can have access to a wider range and a richer range of texts. So you'll see that there's words such as delicious and favourite and journey there at level 6, as well as all the common exception words. And that helps enrich children's reading and give them a more rounded experience. So jumping on a little bit, I'd like to talk a little bit more about how we've actually planned within the books to support the reading. And we've got 2 pages that are really, really important, I think, for the reading experience, and they're called the before reading and after reading pages. Now, when we designed these, we were mindful of the emphasis of developing language and closing the word gap and fostering a love of reading, and also ensuring that children had the phonics progression and the reinforcement that they needed to tackle a book. So we're really aiming to support and challenge and hit that sweet spot of hard work that children can do by making sure they're well prepared to read. So on the left-hand side there, you can see how we've got a page which looks really visually appealing to children and is clearly part of their job in an exciting way, but it will prepare them because you've got those letter sounds there that they will have covered in Twinkl Phonics that they'll need to tackle the text. We've also got focus words where you can see that there's sound buttons underneath to encourage some blending practice. And we've also got our common exception or tricky words, depending on which part of the scheme you're in. Now, in the levels 2 to 5 books, we will mark those tricky words in pink throughout the text. And that's a really good visual clue for children. They'll know that they're expected to tackle that word in a different way, and it's a clear visual clue for them. Now, when you get to the end of the book, we've got the after reading page, and those have got some suggestions for activities and things that you can do with the children just to make the book talk a little bit easier and improve that language around talking about books. We've got recall, sometimes we've got sequencing, we might have comprehension and inference questions that are appropriate to the text. And we've also included a Rhino challenge section, and this is like your kind of wider experience question or your extra activity question. There are some ideas there for linked artwork or discussion, drama, craft, different investigations. We hope we've got something for everybody, just to help children make links between books and their everyday life and their own experiences, and also to make that reading experience a bit memorable for them. So that's the way that we've tried to make the inside of the books work as hard as we can to make the reading really, really memorable and also really, really beneficial and supportive for the children. I'm going to jump on to the next slide. I'm going to talk a little bit about the range of additional resources that we're creating to support our teaching. We're working really hard on this. It is still a slight work in progress, but we do have a lot of levels fully resourced now. And with a resource pack, what you'll get is 4 additional printable resources that match to that particular title that you might be reading, plus a bookmark and a teacher guide as well. So these is a really good way of making it flexible for you to use the books in a guided reading carousel, as whole class readers, if that's what you want to do, or as particular support for individual children or home learning. It could be used to plug gaps in phonics or comprehension that emerge as you read the book. So these are proving very, very popular, and you can download these from the Twinkl site. They're on our landing page, which I'm going to just share quickly in the chat, and it will be coming around on the reflections document. But this is where we normally suggest that you navigate to the books via our landing page. You scroll down a little bit, you'll be able to see all the different levels that we have there. Now, the next slide I'm super excited about because, as I say, this is very new. This is our newest project. We're really excited to be bringing out a set of level 1 books, and these are going to support children with those key phonological and listening skills that we all know have got to be secure before they start tackling letter sounds. And I think that the level 1 books that we're making are different to what else is on the market because we're explicitly targeting those aspects of phase 1 phonics that are so key for children to make progress at level 2 and above. They're woven throughout level 1 Twinkl Phonics, and our Rhino Readers books match the topics and themes in Twinkl Phonics level 1. So they're perfect to use alongside the scheme, but of course they can be used to prepare children whichever SSP they'll go on to use. We've got them in a sharing size, so they're square, slightly bigger than the other books because we intend for them to be shared with adults to be reading, but children definitely don't just do the listening because the books are noisy reads. We've got a really exciting feature where you can scan to access a a QR code which will get you to an interactive sound button activity that children can listen to and join in with. And if you've got the books on as ebooks, that's integrated into the experience as well. So they're definitely something that children will enjoy listening to, joining in with, and helping do all the things like making voice sounds, listening to instrumental sounds, and all those important aspects of level 1. Now, and of course, because you've got the QR code activity, it's something that parents can join in with at home with too, because the scan to access activity is a free activity that you don't need a Twinkl subscription, or not a paid Twinkl subscription. You can have a free Twinkl subscription, and that's will get you access to those scan to access activities, so parents can join in with the fun at home as well. So as I say, we're just about to release the first set of 12 level 1 books for pre-order, and I'll be able to run through the prices and how you can order those in just a few moments. That's our latest bit of a nice update, that we've got some level 1 books available for pre-order. Now, one thing I sometimes asked is, how can we share the ebooks with children to read? And as I mentioned earlier, there are a few different ways that you can do that, and that's one of the particular strengths of our scheme and our books. Now, obviously, if you've got the paperbacks, but if you want to use the ebooks, there are 2 different ways you can make those books available to children. The first way, that's on the left-hand side of the screen, is our Rhino Readers mobile app. And this is an app you download from your app store, whether it's Apple or whether it's Google Play. It's for iOS and Android devices. If you're an Ultimate subscriber, this is free. You can use your Twinkl credentials to log on. If you're not an Ultimate subscriber, you can download the app and you can subscribe to it individually outside of Twinkl. So you don't actually need to pay for the Ultimate subscription to get the books. You can just subscribe to them individually. And the way that this app works is by downloading the books to an individual device. So this is the way that works best if you've got one device that you use and lots of children that are going to need to use it. You can set up 30 profiles for individual children on your device and customize the profiles so children just see the books that they want to. The books actually get downloaded to the device itself, so you don't need internet access to read them once you've actually got them on your device. And they have features such as allowing children to hear those GPCs that are used throughout. They've got a set of mini games to play. So the ideal situation for this app is one where you've got one device and children use that device and select their profiles. But of course, the issue with a mobile app is that books and profiles don't save across devices. So if you've got a child that starts a book on device A, but the next day they pick up device B, they're not going to have their profile saved on there, and they're not going to have their progress saved on there. So if you want children to be able to read the books on any device, anywhere, you're better off using the My Rhino Readers Library web tool. Now, this is a web tool, so there's nothing you need to download. This works with Twinkl's learner login system. And if you're not familiar with that and you haven't set your children up on this yet, I have got a little bit of information that I can share about that, which I'm just going to copy and pop in the chat. This video will help explain a little bit more about Twinkl's learner login system, which is how you can allocate the books with the My Rhino Readers Library. Once you do have your children set up on that system, the way that My Rhino Readers Library works is when you're logged into the Twinkl site, you go to your My Account area, and there's a new admin block in My Resources called My Rhino Readers Admin. And there's the picture at the bottom with all the little books. That's where you'll get to, and you can basically enable or disable the books that you want individual children to see. And when it's their turn to see the books, children can log in at twinkl.co.uk/learn. That's the landing page where children can access the lessons that teachers have given them. There's nothing they need to download at home. And when they open that, they'll be able to see the books that you've set them, and they can read the books on their device at home. So that method will work better if you want the children to have access to the books that you want them to see, but you want them to be able to read them on their own devices at home. So we've got that flexibility in how you can allocate the books too. I am just going to quickly share in the chat a little bit more about how you can do that. So I do have a little information video, just because I know sometimes we do get asked a couple of times, how do we allocate books with the My Rhino Readers Libraries? There's a little video there that might help, and there's also a blog here that might help too. Now, I'll quickly wrap up because I'm aware we've taken quite a lot of this time up now, Simon, but I'll quickly wrap up with what you all want to know, which is probably the prices for the books. So you can see here that these are the prices that we have as full prices as we just displayed on the Twinkl store. But if you are looking to purchase sets, as I've mentioned before, I would always recommend approaching your schools team for the best price. And you can get to the schools team by emailing schools@twinkl.co.uk, and they'll be able to help you with questions like how many books to buy for your setting, any offers or promotions that are on at the moment, and anything like that. So I would suggest that you get your quote and your books via the schools team for the best price available and the best advice for your setting. Which kind of brings me back to almost handing back to you, Simon. The only last thing that I wanted to say was just to keep you up to date with some exciting developments that we have on the Rhino Readers team. We are aware there's a need for age-appropriate decodable books for Key Stage 2. If that's something that you're interested in, we are working on a set of books that will answer your need. So watch out for some more communication on that soon on your social media or on emails. We do have your older readers in mind, and that is going to be our next project. So look out for some exciting news about books for Key Stage 2 very soon. The last thing I'll leave you with. And thank you very much. And back to you, I guess, Simon.
Thanks very much, Joe. Yeah, fantastic. So yeah, sort of to wrap up between the two of us, something that in order to access both the Twinkl Phonics program and Rhino Readers, you will need to be subscribed to our Ultimate subscription. But that includes way more than just a phonics program and a set of decodable readers. Our Ultimate subscription includes access to our handbook, as mentioned, all of our planning, all the lesson resources, all the supporting resources, Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2 interventions, the complete Rhino Readers ebooks and app, support through our Phonics School Support Facebook group, and also access to everything else that's on Twinkl site. So it includes access to all of our other planning resources for other subjects, and it's essentially the highest level of subscription. So you have access to everything that you might need to continue those children through your English program beyond phonics. So beyond that, there's a few other things to mention. So lots of our resources that we've mentioned today are available through the Twinkl store. So you can buy, as Joe's mentioned, books, the Rhino Readers books. You can also buy our physical workbooks, which are available. Those come in sets for a complete level, for levels 2 through 6. We also have we do those as class sets or individual copies. And then we have a number of physical resources as well. So you can get necessary flashcards and display resources that saves you from printing, laminating, cutting everything out. So that's all available. Go and check out what we've got on the Twinkl store. So yeah, if you want to find out more, head on to twinkl.co.uk/phonics, and you'll be able to or go to the twinkl.co.uk/the decoding. Have you got the link? Sorry, thank you. Thanks, Louise. Everything that you need, you can find on site.